So we'll be getting into the risk management. So yesterday we have seen some basic foreign exchange calculations, right? So before proceeding to the particular technical terms, we'll be getting into the concept first. So today's session we'll be seeing about the risk management process, right? So it's a 10 mark. So we'll be seeing what is this risk management process. So we know that the future cannot be predicted. Everyone knows it is uncertain. No one been successful in predicting what is the real thing will happen. Who has expected, well, this corona will really make us and pull us down to earth? So we never expected such thing will happen. We were the first joking before this corona was there. Actually, we were all were making funs. We were just mocking the Chinas actually. But really, what has happened? It has really turned down the economy. So future is uncertain. So in the same way, this is entirely the risk which we have faced, which has entirely make us to pull down. So risk management process is not. I can say that it is not an effective tool to handle the risk, but I can say you can manage, but you cannot eliminate. Okay, you can only mitigate the risk, but you cannot eliminate the risk. Mitigation in the sense we can just do an managing part, or we can do the protection part, or the caution measures we can take, right? That is the now what we are doing, we are only doing the mitigation part. So mitigation process, we are in mitigation process of protecting our health, right? The same way the business operations which run internationally has to mitigate themselves. They cannot entirely eliminate risk, so risk never be eliminated. Okay, but we can do the mitigation part. Normally the risk management and risk taking, right? The risk management and the risk taking, okay, we can say these are the two sides of the same coin. Okay, so everyone are looking about the forward looking options only, what will happen in future. Okay, whatever you invest a money, you sacrifice a particular amount and you are expecting better returns. That is a normally thing everyone has. We normally sacrifice the present money, sacrifice the money or the benefits through which we can do something else. Okay, we sacrifice the money, and why we are sacrificing money? To get better returns, get better returns. So what is the purpose of putting yourself into banks or investing somewhere else? Normally you are sacrificing the benefits right now for getting better returns, so for getting higher returns, and you're putting your money into risk, right? So here we are also, what we are doing, risk taking also. We are doing risk taking. So we are taking risk by sacrificing our amount for expecting a better returns. Who knows what will happen in future? Okay, we know the forecast, how we can exactly predict the forecasting of the stock market, how it will be, how the interest rate will be, how the exchange rates will be, what will be the commodity prices. So commodity prices in the sense, who knows the price of the vegetables will go high. So what is the purchasing power we have? No one knows, right? So it's all depend upon the managing risk. The managing risk we get in help with the help of the financial intermediaries, right? This financial intermediaries will bear the risk that we transfer. So we normally transfer our risk to these financial intermediaries. Normally you have the insurance companies, normally they bear the risk, right? So we'll be transferring our risk to the insurance company, and they charge some cost for the risk. So the cost has to be borne by us, and some benefit will be given at the end of, if you are faced with the risk, if your probability of risk is very high, you'll be given some benefit out of it. It's not benefit, it's nothing but mitigating your risk, because that is the concept over here, right? So you're taking risk by sacrificing money to get better returns. The same way, for managing the risk, we can say the financial intermediaries play a vital role in the capital markets to mitigate your risk. So that is the real role of what this financial market is all about, right? So when it comes to the international capital market, the same thing rolls over there, right? So I can put a small diagram of the risk management process, how the process will works. First thing is that you have to know, you have to identify the risk exposures that you have. So identify the risk exposures first you have. Then when you know the where the risk is, whether it is the interest rate risk, whether it is the stock prices risk, or whether it is the exchange rate risk, when you have identified it, so next thing what you will be doing is you'll be measuring and estimating it. So that is you're quantifying the risk, measuring and estimating, or I can put estimate the risk exposure. Okay, so you are measuring and estimating the risk exposure. And the same way, to mitigate the risk, what you do, you normally find the financial instruments. Okay, you go for the alternative options, right? So where I can protect, or I can protect my capital. Okay, so find the instruments, and what you do, you facilitate to shift the risk. Okay, so normally what you do to protect the money, you're shifting the protection from the, suppose there is a theft will be there in your house, then what you do, you put your money into bank. So what you're doing, normally you're shifting the risk, right? So that is what, so you're finding the alternative of finding the instruments. So instrument here I can say the bank deposit for the common man. When it comes to the business prospects, then you have to go for the some other financial instruments, like investing in bond or government bonds, or investing in stock, purchasing some commercial papers, or investing in mortgage and all. That can be the instrument where you're shifting the risk, right? So then when you quantify the risk, okay, so when you, the quantification will be the result of the, it will just assess the effects, what is the effect of the exposure we have. It assesses the effects of exposure we have. Okay, so here we'll be assessing the cost and the benefits of the instruments, cost and benefits of the instruments. So cost and benefits of the instrument, in the sense, if you normally if I say that you have to go and purchase the SPA stock, so normally you say, what will be the cost of the SBI shares, what will be the risk I'm going to face, what is the benefit I'm going to get out of it. So normally you'll be asking this. So what you're doing, normally you're assessing the instruments cost and benefits, right? If return is very good, then you will be investing you will be investing your money, right? So here what you do, you assess this one, right? So this in combination, what actually you do subconsciously, what you do, it is a form of risk mitigation strategy, form of risk mitigation strategy. Okay, so unconsciously we are getting into risk mitigation strategy. We just, even you ask the common man, he will be saying that I have invested there, I have invested and I've bought a house, that is and all, will be saying. But without his knowing knowledge, he is in risk mitigation strategy, because he is involving in these two aspects, right? So normally mitigation, what you will be doing, I said that you can never eliminate risk. You can't never eliminate risk. Normally what you do in mitigation, you will avoid risk. Avoid risk in the sense, you will not invest in the particular financial instrument, or you will keep the money with yourself. Okay, or what you do to protect yourself, you may transfer the risk, or the same way mitigation, or you go for the reduction strategy. So what are the other prospects where you can reduce your risk, or you keep the risk with yourself? Okay, normally this type of investors are your conservative investors. If you go and ask them, they will just have money only in the bank. They never go for the stock market. They never invest in mutual fund. Whoever comes, they will say no, 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 no. Okay, so these are mostly conservatives. So depending upon this, the market will evaluate. Okay, so you have to evaluate the process of how a particular firm is engaged in risk mitigation strategy. So from the business point of view, you have to say whether the operations you have, international operations, whether you are avoiding the risk, okay, whether you are transferring the risk, or whether you are reducing the risk. So reducing the risk in the sense whether you are getting into some other hedging strategies, that I can say, right? Whether you are keeping the risk, right? So risk we have spoken over here. Now we'll be seeing some typology of risk. Okay, then you will know what is actually true. So typology of risk. So normally you can say, put a diagram over here, right? So risk, what are the various typology of risk? We have the market risk.
Excuse me, sir. Can you explain what is that? Keep the research conservative part. Can you explain that thing?
Which one? This one, na?
Yes, sir.
Keep conservative.
Yes.
See, normally, what is the main purpose? Suppose you are having in your bank, you are having 15 lakh. Okay, this is the amount you are having. I say that you go and invest in some other shares. You invest at least 2 lakh rupees. Suddenly, what happened? The market is no economic conditions not good. But I tell a lie that you will get at least 15% returns out of within 3 days to 3 to 4 days, you'll get 15% returns. Okay, and you does not know anything about the market. So you are a conservative investor. You does not know what is mutual fund, what is insurance. You does not know what how the stock market operates. Normally, most of people are like that only. So how a stock market operates, mostly we also don't know. But technically, if we know something on that, we know how it operates actually. But if we go and say and layman, okay, or I can say the person is getting pension, okay, while securing his pension day by day, a monthly pension, suppose getting a monthly pension of 8,000 rupees, and he gathered at least 15 lakh in his account, and you as a relationship manager working in some mutual fund, okay, you go and approach the person, okay, to finish your target. You go and approach him and say that, sir, you invest your 2 lakh rupees and you will within 3 to 4 days you'll get 15% return. So you convince him, you give your proposal, you give your fake proposals and all. He will convince, he will invest it 1 lakhs. Within next 2 days his account will suppose the market pulls down something around 25% down. What will happen is entire investment goes busted. So he'll be getting busted. So what, he'll be having only 10,000 rupees or 5,000 in the account with the margin money. So what will happen, you tell me? It's whose fault?
It's risk, sir, so we could have invested in somewhere else. So it's kind of our mistake only, sir.
So here the person is typically conservative person. Normally he will not be getting convinced with you actually. So normally he will be not be investing anywhere. So what you said that, what this example is nothing but he is expecting that. See, this person is expecting that you said that as a relationship manager, you said that you will generate him 25% returns. Okay, I said that you'll be generating 25% returns to him. So normally here the concept of this one comes up. See, he will be assessing the benefits of the instrument. Instruments that we are talking is nothing but the SBI stocks. Okay, so you are working in SBI mutual funds. You say that, so you invest in SBI stocks, and it will give you the benefits of 25% of returns, and you have to bear some cost. So you invest for the cost, you for the margin, you have to pay some 1% of margin. Okay, that is a cost that the person, conservative person, has to bear. So here you are assessing the cost. So ultimately, what you do, what the strategy as a relationship manager you do, you are doing the, you're transferring the risk from the person to the market. Okay, for generating the better returns. Okay, this strategy you are adopting. So, but the conservative person never comes up into this. He will be never avoiding. He will not be getting into this 3 steps. Ultimately, he will never invest the money. So, such type of investor is conservative investors. Got the point?
Yes, I got it, sir.
So next, when it comes to typology of risk, we have market risk, we have credit risk, okay, we have liquidity risk, right? Then we have operational risk. Then we have legal and regulatory risk. Then we have business risk. Then we have strategic risk. Then we have the reputation risk. Okay, so normally you cannot only for theoretical point of view we are classifying the risk. Okay, but in reality you don't know which is what type of risk. You cannot identify whether it is a market risk, whether it is a credit risk or liquidity risk. But as far as concerned for our examination point of view, or I can say from the theoretical point of view for your international finance, this has been given in typical in all the curriculums. Okay, whether it is MBA or whether it's CA, whatever maybe it is, right? So you have, so this is category is very important. You have to remember this one. Okay, so market risk, credit risk, liquidity, operational, legal, regulatory risk, business risk, and strategic reputation. So market risk, we everyone know, is nothing but the, I put it MR. Okay, market risk. So market is nothing but your changes in the financial markets prices and rates, okay, which will reduce the value of your portfolio or security, I can put, right? It's nothing but I put change as delta. Okay, I put change as delta. So change in the financial market prices and rates, okay, will definitely reduce the value of your security or portfolio, right? So this is your market risk. Okay, it's like for protecting your risk, you have to compare with the benchmark, okay, which is given in the market. You have to track the performance of the certain benchmark. So benchmark here we refers to the index, okay, the market index with the you have to compare the market index with your individual stock return, individual stock return, okay, the index return. So here we have to do a benchmarking. So this is the typical thing what an investment manager does. If you're an international financial manager, you have to concern with the whether your firm has really invested your money in foreign stocks, or you have purchased the ADR, or the you're involved in the process of GDR. Okay. Second risk that it is nothing but your credit risk. So credit risk is nothing but the default that we have. Okay, so I will just divide the market risk and credit risk. Okay, so normally this is very important because your examiner is more concerned with this too. So I will divide this two. Once again, I'll divide this two. Right. So we have the market risk. Okay, so in the market risk we have equity price risk, we have the interest rate risk, right? We have the foreign exchange risk, we have commodity price risk, okay. So interest risk and equity price risk, we normally go with the trading risk, okay, the settlement and clearing system. Okay, so we have to go also for that. Okay, so while you're progressing, we have to deal with also that will come in. Settlement and clearing system will come in third chapter when we are dealing with derivatives. Okay, then we have the cap risk. Okay, so trading risk, normally we have the in trading there is a general risk, there is a specific risk. general and specific. So specific is mostly concerned with the uh, settlement part. General is entirely nothing but the broker's cost. Okay, so that is the risk that we have to also bear when we have to bear the market risk. So that we'll be dealing when we dealing with the derivatives part. We will be dealing the entire this market risk part. So one more, the examiner is concerned with this is the credit risk. Credit risk. So credit risk is normally we have in this credit risk we have to deal with the transaction risk, and we have to concentrate on the uh, portfolio also. So when we combine this, we are most concerned with the issuer risk, and we have to more concerned with the counterparty credit risk. Counterparty credit risk. Okay, so here, as I said about the interest rate risk, so the interest rate is nothing but we normally deal with the fixed income securities. Okay, I put it IR, interest rate risk. So in the interest rate risk, we have to deal with the value of your fixed income securities. Value of your fixed income securities, right? So there is a change in the interest rates. If there is a change in interest rates, you have the opposite effect of your fixed income. Fixed income securities, one of your example is a bond. Okay, so there is an opposite relationship between the interest rate and the fixed income securities. So in that we have to see a lot of in-depth we have to see. Okay, as we progress in the fourth chapter and third chapter, we have to deal with the yield curves and yield shifts. Yield curve, we have to analyze the yield curve, and we have to analyze the shifts, yield shifts. This and all be done while I'll be getting into the interest rate theory part. Okay. So when it comes to equity risk, we know that it's nothing but the risk associated with the volatility in stock prices. I can put it. Okay, the volatility in stock prices. Okay. So in general market equity, in general market, what does this equity term refers actually? You can say the sensitivity of the your portfolio value. That's it. So whenever you say the term equity, you are mostly concerned with the sensitivity of the portfolio value. The portfolio is nothing but the stack of stocks that you are holding, right? So this is more concerned with the sensitivity part. So next thing that we are most concerned, so we are so this is the crux for ourselves. This is the crux for us. Okay, the foreign exchange risk. See, we know that foreign exchange is nothing but the change in the exchange rates, right? So for I put it FER, foreign exchange risk. So it arises nothing but the if suppose we are imperfectly hedging the positions, imperfectly hedging the positions. Okay, for while the currency is fluctuating, then we have to face the exchange risk. This thing you have to remember. Then you have the typical commodity risk. Okay, this one will be discussed. The risk will be hedging part will be discussed in fourth chapter in more depth. Okay. See, pricing of commodity, you know what is, it's nothing but normally the commodity markets. Normally we are from the gold. Okay, from gold to wheat. Okay, from gold to wheat. So here we have to see the volatilities. Okay, how far the prices will leap in a particular economic conditions. Okay, so how far the precious metals, maybe the gold, how it will have an shift from one price to other price. You know, the gold rate is continuously moving up as per the market forces that we require. So these are the risks that we have to see in this. We are more concerned with the basis risk. Okay, so you have the idea over there. This is the overall idea of that I'm giving you, right? Then we have the credit risk. We already know, already we have done credit evaluation chapters in your previous paper also. So in this credit risk, what we'll be seeing? We will seeing about the downgrade risk and settlement risk. So that we have to deal with it. Okay, you have the idea on the credit risk, right? Downgrade and settlement risk for the credit part. So these are all we have to discuss in depth also, right? So we have to deal with the downgrade risk, downgrade and the settlement risk. So downgrade instance, what do you mean by downgrade? What I mean by downgrade actually? Who is downgrading it actually?
Sir, credit rating agencies.
Yeah, exactly. So the credit rating agencies, like you already we have done in a previous, right? S&P, Standard and Poor, okay, Moody's. So this will be or Fitch ratings. So these rating agencies will be downgrading the credit worthiness of the firm, or I can say the how far the if you are a borrower, okay, if you are the international firm and you have borrowed a lot of money, and depending upon the performance, your firm will be rated as per the rating agencies. Suppose you have been downgraded by the rating agency, it means that you that does not have a proper goodwill in the market. So what will happen? Your entire entire plan is entirely get into waters. Okay. So in the same way, we have to see about the settlement risk, how far the whether the counterparty will not default. So settlement is nothing but the counterparty default. Counterparty default. So you have to careful enough that whether you have given a credit to the international operations. Mostly we are dealing with the only with international business. Don't concern it to Indian passport. Okay, we are concerned only with the international business operations. You think only on those point of view, right? Then for that we have to see about the applying the quantitative form called loss given default. Loss. We have to check the loss given default, right? So it is called LGD. So here we will be applying the probability also. Right. Next thing is that your liquidity risk. Liquidity risk. So liquidity risk, it comprises of two things. One is your funding of your liquidity risk, and one thing you can put it into trading of your liquidity risk. So funding of liquidity risk is nothing but I can say I put it in a very simple form. It's an your organization's ability to raise necessary cash. Okay, your necessity to raise cash. Cash, okay, to for what? To roll over the debt. So this can be put in a simple words, right? So when it comes to the trading part, okay, the normally the risk, I don't know what is the risk that you have. Your firms, when I have to see your statement, when I have to check your financial statement, then only I can know the how far you have the trading risk, right? So how far the transactions, how liquid your transactions are, that has to be seen when it comes to trading part. Okay, here we have to deal with the VAR models to check how far your statement is well good enough. The next part is the operational risk. Okay, liquidity covered. Operational risk. See, operational risk is nothing but the weaknesses we have. I put it as OR, operational risk. Okay, kindly mute your audio part. Whoever is this? See, operational risk is nothing but the potential losses we have, right? Potential losses. Potential losses we have. by the inadequate. So whenever you go to a bank, normally you find that the bank is not giving you proper services. Okay, he says there is a system failure, current illa, adu illa, something you'll be telling, or there will be management failure. One person will not be communicating with others. There will be a customer sitting in the bank for doing a foreign currency transactions. He needed an immediate transaction to be paid within 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So he would have filled the challan and given, and he's sitting for 1 hour. After that, he said that no, sir, I have not seen your challan. Now only I'm seeing. After 1 hour, he will be giving to the manager, and the manager will be saying that, sir, it will take at least one day. So what is the purpose of then I have to come to your bank and do the business with you? So getting the point. So this is your operational risk. So man, there is a management failure. So what is the purpose of the bank which does not give me proper services? So this and all you have to think about that, and you have to see something on the human errors. This is mostly done in banks, right? So these are to be taken into consideration then whenever you or the you itself a financial institution. Suppose you are a bank who is operating overseas, then you have to concern with the operational risk part. If your bank is not working properly in India and you're doing a foreign operations, even there you show your inefficiency in front of the the persons who are there. What does mean actually then? Okay, you are into operational risk. So ultimately, you will be checked out of the particular country actually. Okay, next thing is that the legal and regulatory risk. Legal and regulatory risk. Okay, legal and regulatory risk, normally we are mostly concerned with the banking part only. Okay, and we have to follow the Basel. Normally, till now we are following the Basel II Capital Accord. Basel II Capital Accord. Okay, so we have a term called camels. What is camels? The people forgot. Huh? What is camels in banking? What? There is no answers. Everyone is out. Huh?
It's a rating system, sir, like based on the like it's for the banks or the it's a system on which they
You
rate
heard
the
the this one. You read this one. You heard. CRAR. You heard this one?
like last time you have come across that thing, sir.
Or you heard this one? You
Yeah.
heard about the capital adequacy norms?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like should be
Capital adequacy.
yes, sir. 90% of the like it's
Hmm.
based on risk-weighted assets of the banks.
Yeah. So we
It
have
should
to see about the
assume at least
RWA weightage
90%
involved.
of its own funds of what the deposits based on the assets.
So we have to more concern with the risk-weighted assets. So this is all we have to see. Okay. So recently we have to see about the Basel III norms also. Right. So while I'll be discussing on the euro currency loans, at the time I'll be discussing on the Basel norms and all. Okay. So this is one thing that you have to remember while writing the 10 marks. So these are the keywords that I have given. I'm not giving any theory part over here. These are the keywords which is very, very important for to write in this particular context. Okay. So next thing we have concern with the business. I know it is a little bit dry, but it is not dry actually. It is more technical nature. But I'm giving you the keywords only. Okay. So they are given some mathematical equations and all. I'm not getting into that because you will not understand what is happening. Okay. So step by step, I'll be getting into the mathematical part and all. So next is your business risk, right? So business risk, we know the uncertainty of the demand for your products. So what will happen? No one is going to buy your product. What will happen? Okay, so that is the risk. What is the alternative measures that you will be taking, right? So this is entirely concerned with your business risk. Okay, how business risk should be addressed. This is very, very important. So we, as a suppose you are in manufacturing, you don't know what is how far the strategic decision that you have taken. Okay, the choices that you have taken for the networking part how far the products, how far the variation of products you will be doing by managing the risk, how far you have the change in the network with your suppliers, how far your product has to be marketed, how far the inventory policies has to be modified to meet the general demand in the market. So these and all has to be seen, right? So nowadays you say the corona has really affected the business firm. Normally they have the stocks left with them, and mostly now when there is no proper sale, even though say what they do is that if you buy any one product, they will give you 3 products free. So when I ask a particular manager, he says that no sir, stocks எல்லாம் pending ஆ இருக்கு, எல்லாத்தையும் வெளியே தள்ளி விடணும். So only thing is that he says that whatever the inventory is pending, you have to just push it out, okay, at the cheaper rate. So that way people are running now. Once again, for 1 shirt, 3 shirt, 1 pant, 3 pant. Okay. So because there is no sale for 1 year, okay, 2 seconds. So here this is of the inventory. So the inventory policy is being entirely shattered. Okay, they maintain a well inventory policies. So there is no manager to manage their inventories also. So ultimately what the owner says that he said ultimately I have to just end this business and go to start another new business. I'm not into this real selling my clothing. Okay, he said entirely we are failed and I can't able to give the salary. So only the owner and one assistant is there. Every person has been removed from his shop actually. So he's ultimately say, if you purchase 1 shirt, I'll give 3 shirts and 4 shirts free. So here they are into the push out the inventories. So next is risk, we have the strategic risk. Strategic risk. Okay, I thought that I'll be teaching you some on the spot and forward rates. Okay, anyways, so this has really dragged the time. Strategic risk, important investments. Okay, the investments we do. Okay, the where there is the probability of the success is very less. Okay, the probability of success is very less. So we have to face a lot of uncertain situation, right? So we have some banks, only the we have the BlackBerry, right? Why BlackBerry failed?
Prices were quite high, sir, compared to the
The
other
people can answer, na?
competitors. Prices of BlackBerry were comparatively higher, sir.
Yeah. So this, yeah, so this was the high price. Okay, so you don't find any probability of success. So that is what the strategy that they adopt is failed. You are more concerned with the pricing part, right? Is there any other reason BlackBerry failed?
Sir, lack of innovation.
Is there any other lack
Sir,
of innovations? Yeah, good.
So their design was too simple.
the marketing, sir.
Yeah, marketing, the technical aspects. Is there any new news that whether they have revamped their strategy for getting into market? Is there any alternative they've come up? First, mostly targeting only the corporate people only. After that, they thought that they have to get into the retailers, sorry, small customers and all, but they failed. Is there any alternative they have done? You know something on about BlackBerry, what is happening? You go and search it, okay? So coming to your reputation risk. So reputation risk is nothing but you fail the fulfill the promises of your counterparties, fail to pay the debt, or I can say you are not involving in ethical practices. So that will really affect your reputation. Okay, so here the 2 keywords I can say, fail to fulfill the promises of the counterparties. Then you're not a fair dealer. Okay, you are an unfair dealer. Okay, and you not follow ethical practices. Right. So while you have the PwC, you heard PwC. What is the PwC? Which firm I'm talking about?
Sir, PricewaterhouseCoopers, sir.
Yeah, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Okay, they have a good name actually in the market, but in the year 2004 itself, they were affected with reputational risk. Okay, there was an raid from the Economic Intelligence Unit, okay, EIU, okay, where they were the intermediary, okay, who were doing the services, okay, backend services for the 134 international banks all over the world. Right. So normally what they did is that the biggest risk is that they rigged the pricing part. Okay, they actually they rigged the pricing of the bank's shares actually. Okay, they were just get involved in the selling shares also, but that was not their role actually. But really, that was really affected. Who are the investors are invested in the depending upon the consulting given by the PwC. The consulting was not there. The only thing is that they know the insider information of such international banks. Okay, and they depending upon the insider information, these people gave the information. They failed entirely. Okay, the name was entirely gone. Okay, when there was a raid done by you, because a lot of people were lack of money. So there's a lot of case studies that we'll be discussing in detail later. Okay, several informations are, and we have the Enron, which is failed. Okay, then we have the WorldCom. A lot of things which were affected by reputation risk. Right. So next thing, mostly we have covered. So reputation risk, strategic, business, legal and regulatory, liquidity, credit market. What are that? I'll be doing something on spot and borrowed rates. Okay, it is enough for us for today. So today we have covered the 10-mark part. It's very, 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 very important. I will send you this one, okay, so that you have the keywords to be noted. So is there clarifications to be given? Any other clarifications?
Sir, good, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
So with that, I'll be ending the session. Okay. Thank you then.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.